The reason why you feel like the worst defensive player in your league or you can't seem to get a stop in Madden 26 is probably because you're calling coach suggestions. Or worse, you don't have a complete defensive scheme. Well, don't worry, because in this video, I'm breaking down my 7-step Vikings defensive ebook that's going to have you locking down regardless of your skill level or the game that you're playing. You're not going to want to miss this one. Let's jump right into it. All right, so like I said, this is a scheme. So you're gonna have to watch all 7 tips for them to connect and for you to be able to run the scheme correctly. Let's jump to the first one though, the best defensive setting. All right, so when we come to the best defensive settings, I get asked this question all the time. BLT, do I have to set these every single game? Okay, these are settings right here that I'm about to show you that you do not have to set every game. You can pause the game in game, or you can do this on the main menu. You're gonna come into game options. All right, then you're gonna scroll down until you find, I believe it's called, yep, gameplay helpers. All right, defensive ball hawk needs to be on. This helps you catch interceptions when the ball is in the air. All right, heat seeker assist helps you make dive tackles, gap shoots in the backfield, like suction tackle. Ball carriers a lot better. You want to have this on 100%. I mean, you could put it higher, but 100% is certainly good enough. All right, switch stick delay needs to be on none. Switch stick delay needs to be on none so that you can switch stick better, something we'll talk about later in the video. Very important to this scheme. And then switch assist, again, helps you switch players a little bit better, especially when you're pressing B. All right, so you're gonna come into your coaching adjustments now. I'm gonna move my camera. All right, you're gonna make sure you have auto flip defensive play on unless you're running a blitz that you shouldn't have it on. You wanna make sure you have cornerback matchups on balance so that your defense isn't completely misaligned. All right, defense and motion response on disabled. All right, let's see, RPO pass key. This helps you essentially in the passing game on RPOs a little bit. Not tremendous, I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of a useless setting, but pinch close for safeties, and then zone drop, something again we're gonna talk about later in the video. But for the most part, if you just want to set these, forget these, you don't want to change them every play, just put your curl flats on 5. Okay, let's just jump onto the field and I'm gonna show you a couple things and why we need to make sure we're using these settings. We're gonna call cover 2. Look at our safeties, how close they are to the line of scrimmage. Harrison Smith and Ward right here. All right, just look at this. This is great because if the offense, and this is very common, if the offense just decides to just snap the ball and try to hype throw a seam pass, you can see how basically the whole team's there, right? Especially those safeties. The problem that gets created when you have your safety depth not on close is there's too much space right here in between this safety and this slot corner, or this safety and this linebacker. And so they can basically fit a pass in between those two guys. But when they're closer, the airspace is closed off and they're not able to just hype throw seam passes. And also, you're gonna say, BLT, well, now your safeties are too close. They're gonna get beat over the top. You have 87 or higher speed on your safety, I'm gonna be honest. Like, if the speed mismatch between the receiver and the DB, if it's not that great, it's not gonna matter because you're gonna see he's still able to drop back with Jawan Jennings and break that pass up, right? He's not just gonna get ran by. We're not playing college football 25 where the takeoff ability is overpowered, right? You can pretty safely put your safety depth on close, with your safety width on pinch. And when you try to throw these passes, whether it be lob pass, bullet pass over the top, they're not going to be able to throw that pass and you're going to get easy breakup. And so also, like I said, having your cornerback matchup on balance prevents like basically this from happening where, the safeties crisscross trying to match up by speed or something, right? If you're running man coverage, I guess you can do this, but like if you're running zone coverage, obviously you don't want your defense to end up looking like this because again, you would have to call a timeout to be able to fix this. And then obviously, like if they just call a half decent route concept, they have streets on the field, they're going to be able to throw those passes down the field if they're not in a bunch formation. But you can see how that's a problem, right? They're in trips, they're in spread, right? They just hike throw the ball, and I mean, I probably could have just thrown this right here. But anyway, you can see how it's a huge problem if you have your safeties crisscross. So the best way to prevent that from happening is to simply put your safety depth on close and have your cornerback matches on balance. A very critical part of this scheme. All right, the next part of any defense is being able to get the quarterback on the ground in a hurry. Let me show you a blitz that no one's seen before, but that's really good. All right, so we're gonna come into 3-4. We're gonna choose odd right here. All right, so you can call pinch bucko or you can just use Tampa 2. All right, so I'm gonna use Tampa 2. So we're gonna break the huddle. We're gonna come out to the line of scrimmage, all right? And this is going to be your blitz. You can set this up one of two ways. You can shift your D line either way. I would shift him probably to the right. All right, so it's gonna look something like this. So shift your D line right, then blitz your inside linebacker, number E. Wilson, number 55 right here, all right? You're gonna blitz this guy, and then, I mean, you can leave this other hook curl linebacker, this man right here, you can leave him in his zone. That's perfectly fine. Or you could blitz him, probably get faster pressure blitzing him. But all you need to really do is try to get the attention of the center. You can see we have 3 guys on the right side of the offensive line right here, over the right guard, right tackle. And so if we just get the attention of the center, even maybe for it momentarily, right, we're going to be able to get quick pressure on him. All right, so we're going to take the snap, we're going to try to get the attention of that center, and then we're able to, you know, get pressure via sheds. All right, so sometimes if you want to turbo engage with him, you can certainly do that. That will pretty much make sure that you'll get his attention. So that's actually what I'm going to do right here. I'm going to set it up the same way. Blitz this inside linebacker, press RB, right stick up to pass commit. That basically makes it to where the blitz is better, something I didn't do in the last play. But D-pad up, right trigger, left stick down, right, as we talk about to you know, turbo engage, get the attention of this man, and then that's where you're able to see that the inside linebacker just walk in the backfield completely untouched. Very, very easy for you. And then you're also able to see on this play, you know, we're back into coverage because, again, you're turbo engaging. So you're gonna spam A as soon as you get on that block to, you know, get off the block and then get back into coverage and actually, you know, be able to guard. If you wanted to shade your hooks down, you could probably take away this zig, or again, because you're back into coverage so fast, you would just be able to jump out here very easily. This is something that no one really talks about as far as the turbo engagement. It's gonna make all your blitzes better because you're able to see on this play, we execute it perfectly. We get the attention of the center. Now there's 3 guys on the right side, and so they're just able to walk in free. It's really just conceptual. It's just understanding what you're trying to do. This is only really a 5-man rush, so it's 5 against 5, but we're able to take advantage of them. And again, if they want to block McCaffrey right here, which we will do, you're gonna see a lot of the time running backs are not going to be able to actually hold up in pass coverage for very long. So again, we're gonna set it up the same way. Blitz E. Wilson right here. All right, pass commit our defense, stand right over the center. All right, D-pad up, right trigger, left stick down. All right, try to get his attention, spam A to get off the block, and you're able to see that time they block their running back, but he actually whiffs on his block, which actually is kind of common, where they will whiff on their block and just not block anyone. Because, I mean, this is a defensive tackle that they just let. This is a nano blitz, right? So he doesn't want any parts of that. He's also still looking at this linebacker, right, who could come in free. So he whiffs on the D tackle, and so we're able to take advantage of that and absolutely walk in the backfield, get easy sacks, all right? So really, that's a go-to blitz. Honestly, Vikings playbook has more blitzes. Again, in my defensive ebook that we're kind of making this whole video around, we talk about other blitzes, but overload blitzing from 3-4 odd is really, really good because, again, no one's ever really seen this blitz before. All right, if you like those first 2 tips, they don't even compare to what I have for you in the rest of the video. So make sure you go down below, hit that subscribe button, and comment free, and I'll send you a free guide to dominate Madden 26. Let's jump right back into it. All right, I know you're tired of giving up corner routes, post routes, out routes, anything that's attacking the sideline. Let me show you 2 ways to shut that down. All right, so if we're in a Tampa 2 defense, cover 2, I mean, this can work for the offense necessarily if you're in cover 3, right? It's just a flood concept, right? So whether they want to be short side, wide side, you're in cover 2. So if they want to just take that flat, maybe try to speed burst, especially if they're playing mud, you know, giving receivers and tight ends open space to run is kind of tough. But you're able to see cover 2 defense. If they want to take their flat, they can certainly do that. They could certainly also wait on this corner out to run over top of the flat zone and pick up a big gain down the sideline. So that's what we call a flood concept, where you're basically putting this outside corner right in no man's land, making it impossible for him to actually guard anything. And so really the best way that you can kind of slow that down and stop that is to simply, you know, you can call a cover 2 double maple. That's the first thing I'm going to show you by utilizing zone drops. Okay, so you're going to pause the game or call a timeout, next play, right? You're going to come into your coaching adjustments, put your flats on 20 or 25. I would probably put them on 25 just to be safe. If you notice they're like throwing the corner out under your zone though, then you could probably move him down to 20, make that adjustment. But we're going to call the same route concept, and you're going to see how, okay, we have our 20 and we're just going to take the snap and we're going to be able to stop the corner route, right? So you're going to, or excuse me, we have our 25, and so he's going to be able to break that pass up. But you're gonna say, BLT, that flat route was wide open. You know, if you drop your flats that far back, I mean, obviously all this underneath room is open, and you're right. And that's gonna lead me into my next kind of adjustment here with this is you don't just want to put the 25 on the field on the right side. You also want to put your slot corner, so press Y twice, then press A, in this case, the slot corner. You want to put him in a curl flat zone. All right, so it's gonna look something like this. Now, you have him in the curl flat, you can put your man in a corner out, shriek corner flat, all right, take the snap, and now you see the 5 is gonna be sitting right there. I mean, shout out to bro for whipping, but he's right there, you know, he breaks that pass up, you know, 9 times out of 10, right? Very easy because he's already sitting there. He's at 5 yards, this is a 5-yard route, so he's gonna be able to take it away, but you still have your 25 on the field who's gonna just drop on this pass. The reason he comes down is because the ball ends up getting thrown, but he's, you know, here the whole play to stop that corner out, right? So that's very easy, and it's really easy to execute. All you really have to do is set zone drops manually and then make one adjustment to put this man in a curl flat. Now, what if they notice that, start picking up on that, and they're gonna start flooding the other side of the field, right? So essentially they're just gonna call a crosser to the other side with a drag. So again, it's a delayed flood to the left now. Well, you're gonna see that you're gonna have the crosser taken away with your 25, but they're still gonna have that underneath. And that's why we call it the double Mabel, because you wanna be able to take away that route on both sides of the field. So again, curl flat on both sides, 25 on both sides. So it doesn't matter what side they want to attack, right? If they want to call the delayed flood over here to the left, right? You're just gonna take the snap and you're gonna see 5 yards sitting on the underneath pass, and then the 25 is back there to stop the crosser. And then obviously, right, as we've talked about many times already, if they call the flood to the bunch side in this case, you already have that guarded because again, it's the same on both sides. And all this really means with this defense is your user is responsible for the middle of the field. So you see how no one's open on that play. And so this is really good for when they're only attacking the middle, or excuse me, only attacking the sideline, or they're primarily attacking the sideline, right? But I did tell you that there's 2 parts to this. If you because you are vulnerable over the middle if you don't have a good user with that. So meet coverage 6 or match coverage, right? To do this, you're gonna put your flats on default, right? Everything on default. And then I like to do this from cover 6. Although you could do this from cover 4 quarters, cover 4 palms. All right, so you're gonna put the man in a corner out, or they're gonna call the flood concept, same flood concept, right? And so this time you're gonna be in match coverage, which is basically running zone coverage to start the play, and then you're gonna convert to man. All right, so you're gonna see, they're gonna call this delayed flood concept over here to the right side, and you're gonna see how the out route's gonna be guarded, the corner route's gonna be guarded. You can see how that's probably even better defense as far as stopping this. So honestly, I kind of like match coverage, especially when they're calling, because a lot of players will do this, where they'll basically just call brain dead flood concepts, and you're gonna be able to, you know, get pressure on the quarterback. Now, something you do also have to understand is because you're in a formation like nickel, you're gonna be able to get this to happen sometimes where the offensive line doesn't even block this outside linebacker, and so he's just gonna punish the running back. But you're able to see we accomplish our goal pretty easily of stopping this flood concept because we're in match coverage. Outside quarter matches onto the corner out, inside quarter matches onto the shriek down the field, and then we have our quarter flat right here on the right side who takes away this out route. So, you know, really great defense to stop flood concepts. Gave you guys 2 great ways, whether you want to, you know, double Mabel user over the middle of the field entirely, or you want to play a little bit more of a high risk, high reward defense here for match coverage. You're going to easily be able to stop corners, posts, outs, really anything attacking the sideline. All right, do you ever watch pro tournaments and wonder how guys like Henry, Clef, John Beast are able to bait their opponents? Let me show you a secret coverage trick you've probably never seen before, or you're using incorrectly. All right, so that coverage trick that I'm talking about here is called coverage shells. Now, in order to pull this off, you want to make sure that you have your, you know, you're going to come into the play call menu, then you're going to see shells right here at the bottom. I can flip the right stick to be able to adjust them. Now, there's some pretty cool use cases for this, all right? There's really 2 that I like the most, all right? So we're going to put it back onto, we're going to put it on cover 2, right? And we're going to call a cover 3 sky or just a cover 3 defense, all right? Now you're going to be able to see we're basically basically showing a too high, right? So again, we're just showing a too high shell. I mean, you can move guys back over if you want. They were a little bit more over just because they're in a bunch formation, but essentially you're showing cover 2. Why is this useful? Because obviously if we show cover cover 3, this is a very obvious cover 3 tell, or they're gonna think that you're in cover 3. And if you come out in the same defense, you show the same defense that you're running, well, that plays the advantage of the offense because a lot of people are reading that. I showed you earlier how dangerous flood concepts are, and they're really, really good against cover 3 defenses. So again, if they see cover 3, they might read that and then have that pass open if, you know, your receiver decides not to bump into a hook throw. But cover 3, right, the flood concept, the deep sideline is so dangerous against the cover 3 defense. But when you're actually in cover 2, or excuse me, you're in cover 3, but you're showing cover 2, right? Now, this will confuse people because they're gonna call route concepts that are geared towards more so beating cover 2, which cover 3 and cover 2 kind of overlap, but I would say they're less likely to call a flood concept against if they think it's cover 2, just because there's the possibility that a cloud flat will drop all the way back to stop the corner out, and then you'll have like a man underneath, all right? So it's very rare that someone will try to call a flood concept, like, or guess more rare against a cover 2 defense. So you're going to get more route concepts like this that maybe can beat cover 2 a little bit better, but you know, you're actually dropping into cover 3. So it's not like they can just call a post, right? People are going to see a cover 2 shell, right? And they're going to say to themselves, oh, let me go ahead and call, you know, a cover 2 beater, right? Let me just call a post route over the middle of the field to my receiver, and you're going to see how that safety is going to be dropping in that area. Hook, curl, safety, all these guys are going to be breaking on the pass. So just disguising your coverage, it's going to be, people always talk about read the defense. Well, if you just use coverage shells, it's literally impossible to read a defense. Like, you're going to say, BLT, how do you read a defense? Well, if they use coverage shells, that's the whole point. You can't read the defense. And so again, there's counters to that, you know, on offense, right? Something I talk about in my offensive breakdown videos. But the next use case for this is going to be if we go ahead, call a cover 0 shell. Right, we're still going to use the example of a cover 3, but this time we're showing cover 0. Now, if we look at this picture from the offensive POV, which is where we're looking, right? This looks like cover 0. This just looks like man coverage. The DBs are really close to the line of scrimmage. The corners are lined up. You know, they're giving outside leverage, but that still kind of looks like man coverage. But here's the key: the slot corner, this man, it's this guy. This guy Murphy is lined up right over top of their receiver. So again, that just pretty much confirms, if I'm on offense, that I think that this is going to be a cover 0, just a cover 0 defense. So what am I going to do if I see cover 0? I'm going to call more of a man beating route. Let's see if we can find one, right? Where we're going to call more of a man beating route, like right here. This is actually a pretty good man beating route. You have an out route from your tight end, you have a cross, you have a post, and then you have an out route to Ricky Pearsall. Again, your route concepts completely change if they're in man coverage versus zone. So this isn't a bad man beating route concept, but you're able to see against zone coverage, like everyone's covered, right? Like everything's covered. Now they can take off with their quarterback certainly, but all the receivers are going to be guarded because this isn't a route concept that's pretty good. It's not good at all against beating zone coverage. You're not really attacking any levels. All of these guys are kind of running in the same area. But again, against man coverage, you can do that. So again, that's a great use case for coverage shells because you're going to be confusing people. They're going to think it's cover 0, but then you actually drop into more of a, you know, cover 3 zone coverage defense, and then the route concepts that they called to beat zone coverage, they're not going to work against man and vice versa. Very great use case for coverage shells. All right, I've broken a lot down so far in this video, and there's still more to come. So if you want this entire breakdown video in written form, go to the link down below in the pinned comment and in the description and grab my written tactical breakdown, where again, I'm going to break this entire video for you in written form so you can always save it when you're on the go or in your next game. Let's jump right back into it. All right, the next problem that you're probably having on defense is you can't actually stop RPOs. Let me fix that with the best RPO and run defense in the game. All right, so you're gonna come into cover 3 cloud, for example, here from nickel 3-3 odd. Okay, this is the first kind of way I like to stop this. Now, you can see that they're going to be calling an RPO right here. So if we just take the snap for them on offense, you're gonna see how like they can throw that pass. Sometimes it'll be more yards than others, you know, but it's just very easy to throw, right? Easy, because this guy's, he's going to be looking into the backfield if they want to hit a skill move, right? Just allowing him to catch the ball in general is a problem. right? Even if, you know, you're not picking up that many yards, you can see they had the chance to spin. And that, again, that's not bad, but like it could be a problem, right? Let's just say this guy's a little bit more inside or whatever, or you just have bad, you know, RPO defense, right? They can pretty easily throw some of these passes out here and pick up yards. So you want to be able to shut it down entirely. Not to mention the RPO runs are pretty good too. So all you need to really do to stop, you know, a pass on an RPO is man up the bubble, or the man who's going to be getting the ball. Now, a lot of people will tell you, hey, run cover 2, right? Just run a cover 2 defense and shade your coverage down to stop RPOs. Well, that's the whole point of the RPO, is that you have a man out there blocking. Kendrick Bourne's going to be blocking the man who's in the hard flat. So like cover 2, shade your coverage down, that's not like a good answer to be able to stop, you know, RPOs, because there you're able to see they're able to just catch the ball and get out, just because you're not in a good defense to stop it. So BLT, how do you go about stopping it? Well, all you really have to do is you can run a cover 2, right? You could run a cover 2, shade your coverage down, but here's the critical adjustment. Take the slot corner in this case and just man him up under Ricky Pearsall. Shade your coverage down, pass commit, right? Very, very easy, because now you're going to see no chance for this. He's literally sitting on it. Sometimes he'll even get an interception, a pass breakup, whatever. But he's solely focused on stopping that RPO just because he's manned up onto that guy and you're pass committing your defense. So again, boom. And then you're going to see how really realistically they're going to have to hand this ball off. This isn't open by any stretch. And so we're basically sitting on it. If you wanted to click on, like here's actually something that you can do. Let me show you this, because you can switch stick actually onto these RPOs, since this is technically a pass play. All right. So if you start the play on this man, they take the snap, you can switch stick here and come down. Now, I mean, obviously you're going to have to stop the run too. But it's like I've gotten some interceptions on people being way too aggressive trying to throw RPOs just because you immediately switch it onto the RPO, come down, and actually, you know, take away the pass. Now, you see I gave up the run there because, again, if you're not in the middle of the field with your user, you're going to give up RPOs as far as the run aspect. So how do you stop the run? Well, all you really need to do is loop around and shoot a gap. Right here, they're kind of calling an off tackle run, so that kind of changes how you have to stop it. But you're going to see it's going to be the same thing where you're just trying to loop all the way around. And you see I meet the ball carrier at the point of attack and make that play. So honestly, RPOs, they're really not that hard to stop if you can get the adjustments off, if you can first understand why the adjustments work, and then you can actually get the adjustments off. So again, shade your coverage down so you have that hard flat. Then you're going to man up the bubble man, all right? And then you're going to pass commit. And then you're just going to stand about, like I always talk about, 4 yards over top of the guard so that you can just loop around these guys and meet these ball carriers at the point of attack. Again, sometimes those backside, outside linebackers are going to loop through and shoot gaps, but for the most part, like, this is very, very easy for you to just come up and make this play. All right, so again, that's how you stop the RPO pass aspect, simply manning the guy up and shading your coverage down, pass committing to ensure he's not looking in the backfield, and then just loop around and take the responsibility of stopping the run aspect of the RPO with your user. All right, next, you want to start getting some more interceptions, maybe baiting your opponent. Let me show you the best way to do that. All right, so really the best way that you can start baiting your opponents is simply by using the switch stick, okay? We're going to have a crosser, we're going to have a shriek, we're going to call a route concept something like this, okay? And you're going to see how they're going to go ahead and take this snap, right? And if you user this drag, right? If you user the drag, then the crosser's wide open. If you user the crosser, then the drag is going to be left underneath, right? So you kind of have to pick your poison with a route concept like this. Not to mention, I mean, they did have that, you know, zig route open there, but like for the most part, it's like you can only guard one or the other, especially if they call a good spacing concept like this, something that I preach in a lot of my offensive breakdowns. It's because, again, you're going to make their user pick their poison. They come down, take this away, you see how RB is wide open. If they wanted to drop back, stop RB, then the drag would be open. So when you're on defense, you have to be able to counter that and be able to beat offensive players who are smart and want to do that. And really the best way to do that is using the switch stick feature, okay? So we're just gonna go ahead and set the same route concept up. And so you're gonna see how we're going to this time come down and stop the drag, but then I'm gonna switch it onto another player and stop the, I'm gonna be able to stop the crosser. All right, so we're gonna take the snap, we're gonna come down, and then we're gonna flick our right stick up to take away that crosser. Why can you do that? Because you're in a cover 3 defense where giving up the shriek isn't really a problem, because you can see how we have an inside third right here who's going to be able to drop back and stop that pass if they want to hold on to the ball a little bit longer. Now, you want to, again, switch stick onto this man, take away this crosser as it runs across the field, because, again, you came down and stopped this drag already. So now if I'm on offense, I say, okay, they stopped the drag, so let me look to the crosser. Well, now you switch stick pretty early, and you're able to switch stick onto this to where if they throw this Jawan Jennings corner out, or crosser, you're gonna be right there with your user to stop that. So again, all you really have to do is flick. All I did was flick the right stick probably to about, I guess that would be 10 o'clock. Or I guess really, yeah, kind of just up actually, maybe 12 o'clock right here to actually switch stick onto this man using the right stick. Okay, and because my player was in a coverage assignment, I was able to just flick the right stick up and switch stick onto this crosser and guard it. Very, very easy, very, very routine, stuff right here. All right, so that's really just the first use case, is being able to, take away deeper routes down the field. But also, you can switch stick multiple times. Let's just say you called a bad defense, right? You called cover 2 and they called a flood concept. Well, really, that's okay because of the switch stick. They're gonna call cover 2. They're gonna see that this is gonna be wide open, and so you can kind of play in between where you're gonna come down with that outside corner, take away the flat, and then you're gonna switch stick onto your deep safety right here and take away the corner out. So you're able to see, boom, I switched it here. If I wanted to commit all the way down, I could have, right? And then I'm gonna switch it onto this corner, boom, take this away. And then this is why you leave mid reads or inside thirds on the field, because they're gonna take away the shriek, right? So again, you take the middle third takes away the shriek. I take the corner out with my safety, and then the flat zone comes down and takes this away. So you can see how I was able to switch stick, twice on that play just because I needed to in order to stop their route. So again, you're gonna get some more baits, some more interceptions simply by using the switch stick feature, which again is gonna help your defense out tremendously. All right, you stick all the way to the end of the video, so I'm gonna give you a special trick here. We're gonna be talking about how you can stop the most common offense in the game and slow down some of their best plays. Let me show you. All right, so your problem probably really is defending this particular play, spacing switch. All right, I have a few plays here that we're going to be breaking down. Okay, so spacing switch, we understand why is this good, because they have a glitched halfback table route out of the backfield. All right, so if we take the snap, you're gonna see how Etienne's gonna basically get a speed burst out of the backfield, and you can see how the flat zones over there, they're not really gonna react as fast as they need to be able to stop that. You can see they're kind of dropping back. You throw it on time, anticipating the speed burst to occur, and so you're gonna be able to take advantage, of that. I mean, simply just by throwing a pass for 2 yards, and you can see how if you have good stick, maybe you're speed bursting, you practice the speed burst. It's not necessarily the easiest thing to do, but you practice the speed burst, you practice spinning, right? You're gonna see how you could turn that into a big game, right? So that's gonna be a problem. And then also, it's like even if you were to run man coverage, cover 0, right, where you have a safety manned up onto him, it's like he's still gonna get that speed burst and he's still gonna be able to get out. Like, you can see how that's so frustrating on defense, because all that is a table route with terrible pursuit angle from the defender, and so they're able to take it to the crib, right? And that's why spacing switch is so toxic, so common. And really what you have to do, though, to defend spacing switch is to set up basically what I like to call a scissor. I would man my outside corner onto the running back, and then I would man my top safety, Harrison Smith, right here onto the slot receiver. This is going to be pretty useful, but you're still going to see how, again, I don't think it's going to go for a touchdown here. Well, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he still would have gone for a touchdown. But it's better than obviously giving up a touchdown. But here's how we can make it better. We're just going to use the same trick I told you earlier about switch stick, because again, we're going to man our top safety onto their slot receiver. We're going to man our outside corner onto their running back, right? And so now all we're going to do is we're just going to use their pace, for example, right here, have them take the snap, immediately switch stick onto that, and we're coming down with our user like, we're not letting the CPU defend that route. We're going to actually come down and guard that with our user and kind of close the airspace a little bit better here, with this. So again, we're using this we're using this linebacker to start the play, and then we're going to switch stick onto this outside corner, come down and take away this halfback table route, and it's going to be very, very effective defense for you, okay? So again, it's really it's pretty simple. You can see how when they call spacing switch and you're in man coverage, no one else really gets open because these aren't man beating routes. When they call this play, especially when they quick snap in, all they're trying to do is really just make sure that they can throw this table route. And by you switch sticking onto it, you take it away and you can see how the play's bagged, okay? But also, let me come into the next play here from Bunch X Nasty, motion cross post. One of the most common plays in the game. I talk about it all the time because it's so easy to set up and so easy to run, especially for newer players. All right, so here with this, we're going to come back to the same match coverage concept that we talked about earlier in the video to stop flood concepts, where we're going to come into cover 6 again, all right? And the route concept that a lot of people use is, some people will just call it stock, just like this, or they might put like RB on a streak. All right, so we're just gonna take the snap. And here's the thing, when you're running match, you're a lot of the time gonna have to use just one route. You see how X runs open on that play, but everyone else is guarded. So you can't just put your controller down like I did on that play. You're still a lot of the time gonna have to guard something, okay? So we're gonna call the play once again right here, and you're just gonna have to read the play with your user. You're gonna see right here where, yes, that's all I need to do with my user is guard that little short cross as it runs across the field, and then you can see how no one's open. This is one of the hardest places to defend because they have that short cross, they have a wheel route, they have a post, and they have a running back out of the backfield. So again, this is very tough to defend, but you're able to do a great job of it because you're in match. Your defenders are converting from zone coverage to man coverage seamlessly, all right? You're able to stop their tight end post, or you're gonna be able to stop their wheel route as it runs over the top across the field, and then you're also, again, just gonna user this short cross as it's coming across the field, and so you're gonna be able to defend that very, very easily, all right? So again, that's really the first way that people like to run this. Some people, though, they like to put, I like to run it like this, where they put X on a streak, all right? So again, but it changes how your defense is gonna set up and play. So you have to understand that and recognize that. And so that's why switch stick is important to really cover your butt. So again, they're going to call it right here. I'm going to just checkpoint, and then I might want to think about switching on to Harrison Smith to stop that wheel route on the sideline. So again, it's really just about reading the play. Match coverage, kind of complicated, but this is a complicated play to defend. And so again, that's why I say switch stick is very important. But you're able to see, we're able to get quick pressure right here before they're even able to throw anything. And so you're able to see it's lockdown defense. He comes up, guards this momentarily. We're able to stop their drag. Their post is guarded. And then obviously their running back out of the backfield is taken away. So match coverage match coverage is going to do a great job of taking away motion cross post because they have so many receivers running in different directions, and your match is going to do a great job of guarding that. And then if they're calling spacing switch, you need to make sure that you're switch sticking onto a man coverage defender to take that away. All right, so again, if you like that defensive breakdown, just imagine all the more blitzes, coverages, everything else that's in my defensive ebook. I encourage you to go down below, the link down below the description, the pinned comment, grab it today using code WELCOME to get 20% off your first purchase. But if you want to know secret pro tips that all the top players use to win more games, check out this video. I'll see you over there. Peace.